You ever wake up in the middle of the night, not because you want to, but because your bladder just won't let you sleep? You try to ignore it. You tell yourself, just 5 more minutes, but it always wins. You swing your legs over the side of the bed, take a breath, and make that slow walk to the bathroom again. And maybe you've started noticing it's happening more often. Maybe 2, 3, even 4 times a night. Now, maybe you're watching someone you love go through this. Maybe it's your husband, your father, your older brother. You see the way he shifts in his seat to get comfortable. You notice how often he excuses himself. Maybe he doesn't say much, but you see it. You feel it. And here's the hard part. You both might be thinking it's just part of getting older. But what if I told you it's not always that simple? Let me ask you, when's the last time you really thought about prostate health? Not a sexy topic, I know. No one wants to talk about it. It's private. It's awkward. But here's the thing. For millions of senior men, those little signs, the extra bathroom trips, the uncomfortable sitting, the slower stream, aren't just annoyances. They're warnings. And ignoring them, that's where the real danger begins. Because when the prostate starts to grow too large, when it swells quietly, slowly, like a balloon with no one watching, it doesn't just interrupt sleep. It disrupts life. It chips away at freedom. It steals away confidence. It makes a man feel like a shadow of who he used to be. See, these quiet little signs, those nighttime trips, that slight pressure, the hesitation, they could be symptoms of something more serious. An enlarged prostate, something we call BPH or benign prostatic hyperplasia. And no, it's not cancer. But left unchecked, it can lead to complications that steal a person's comfort, dignity, and independence. And here's what might surprise you. It's not always just nature taking its course. Sometimes it's daily habits. Small things we've done for years, without realizing they might be feeding the very problem we're trying to ignore. That's why this conversation matters. Because by the time we're done, you're going to learn about 3 common habits that could be quietly making things worse. And if you're caring for someone in their later years, or if you're going through it yourself, I promise this is something you need to hear. It's not about fear. It's about knowledge. Because knowledge puts the power back in your hands. So do this with me. Stick around. And if any of this hits home, or you've been worried about someone close to you, drop a comment below and say, I'm here. Let me know you're part of this community that cares enough to ask the tough questions. And if you want more real, down-to-earth advice on aging, health, and dignity in the later years, go ahead and subscribe to Elderly Care. Now, let's talk about those 3 habits. Let's start with habit 1, living a mostly sedentary life. And I know, after decades of hard work, raising families, building a life, rest feels well-earned. And it is. But here's where we have to be careful. Picture this, Mr. Thompson. He's 72. Used to be the first one out in the garden every Saturday. Rain or shine, there he was pruning roses, checking on his tomatoes. But lately, he's spending more and more time in the recliner. Mornings turn into afternoons with the television on low and not much else happening. His legs don't feel as strong. His energy isn't what it used to be. And more than anything, he's making those nighttime trips to the bathroom over and over again. And if that sounds familiar, either in your own life or someone close to you, you're not alone. But here's the part we can't ignore. Too much sitting isn't harmless. It's not just about stiff joints or weak legs. When we stop moving, blood doesn't flow the way it should, especially down in the pelvic region. And that reduced circulation, that's a breeding ground for inflammation. Now, the prostate is a small gland tucked just below the bladder. It wraps around the urethra like a soft cuff. When that area becomes inflamed or congested, the prostate can swell. It grows slowly, putting pressure on the bladder, narrowing the passage of urine. And that's when the symptoms begin. That's when you start to feel like you never quite empty out. That constant urge, that interrupted sleep, that feeling of being stuck near a bathroom wherever you go. And too often, families think, he's older now, he's supposed to take it easy. But too much taking it easy can become the problem. It's not about overexertion. It's about movement. Gentle, regular movement. Even light walking around the house. A stroll to the mailbox. A few stretches while the kettle boils. Pelvic floor exercises. Leg lifts in a chair. These small efforts keep blood moving. They reduce inflammation. They help keep the prostate from becoming stagnant and swollen. 15 minutes a day, broken up into little bits, is a game changer. And no, it won't reverse time, but it can slow down the body's more difficult changes. It can help reclaim energy, sleep, and comfort. So if you're noticing more time in the recliner than on your feet, it might be time to add a little motion back in. And if you're a loved one watching from the sidelines, encourage that movement with kindness, with patience, and maybe with a gentle nudge to walk together. But here's the twist. Even if you're staying active, there's another habit that can sneak up and cause just as much trouble, especially if it's something you've eaten your whole life without ever giving a second thought. Now let's talk about habit 2, a diet that's too heavy in red meat and dairy. I want you to think about someone like James. He's 74, strong as ever in spirit, grew up on meat and potatoes, worked with his hands his whole life. To him, a good meal means a full plate. Steak seared just right, maybe a glass of whole milk, buttered rolls, and a second helping of mashed potatoes if there's room. And honestly, it's a tradition. It's comfort. It's pride. That appetite makes him feel alive, capable, like he's still in control. But lately, James has started to notice a few things. More trips to the bathroom, that annoying feeling that he never quite finishes urinating, a dull pressure, sometimes even embarrassment when out in public. And when you tell him maybe his diet needs to change, he laughs and says, "I've eaten this way for 50 years. I'm fine." But here's where that mindset can be dangerous. What we eat affects our prostate more than most people realize. See, red meat and full-fat dairy are packed with saturated fats. And when we consume too much of these fats, especially as we age, they do more than just affect cholesterol or weight. They trigger low-grade, chronic inflammation throughout the body. And the prostate? It's one of the areas most sensitive to that inflammation. Inflamed tissue swells. It becomes irritated. And in the case of the prostate, that means it starts pressing against the bladder and the urethra, leading to all the symptoms you're trying to ignore. And it doesn't stop there. Excess dairy and red meat can also throw off hormone balance, especially testosterone and its byproducts, which are closely tied to prostate growth. So when someone like James says, "But I've always eaten this way," he's not wrong. But the body he has now, it's not the same one he had at 40. What we get away with in our youth can come back with consequences later on. Now, I'm not saying never touch a burger again. I'm not saying abandon every favorite meal. But there are smarter ways to nourish an aging body. Start with one meal a day. Just one. Swap out the red meat for something plant-based. Beans, lentils, tofu, a hearty veggie stew. Or go for a lighter animal protein like salmon, rich in omega-3s, which actually fight inflammation instead of feeding it. Instead of whole milk, try oat or almond milk. Try steamed vegetables with olive oil instead of cream sauces. It's not about cutting joy from meals. It's about finding new ways to protect your body while still enjoying food. And if you're caring for someone, this might be one of the toughest conversations you'll have. Because food is emotional. It's history. But what you're offering isn't just a new recipe. It's a path to comfort, to longer walks, deeper sleep, fewer interruptions, more dignity. That's worth a change or two at the dinner table. But here's where things get even trickier. Because even when someone's moving, and even when they've made some changes to their meals, there's another habit that can slip right under the radar. It seems like a good thing, like you're helping your body. But sometimes it's the quietest things that do the most harm. Now let's talk about habit 3. This one might surprise you, because it looks like you're doing the right thing. It feels like you're being proactive. But without realizing it, you might be making things worse. Let me tell you about Eugene. He's 68, always been the type to take charge of his health. He reads up on things, stays current with articles, watches videos like this one. One day, he stumbles across a headline. Zinc and testosterone boosters, essential for male vitality after 60. It sounds convincing. And hey, he's been feeling a little tired lately. Not quite himself. So without thinking twice, Eugene heads to the supplement aisle. He picks up a bottle of high-dose zinc, grabs some testosterone support capsules, starts taking them daily. No doctor, no blood work, just trust in the label and a hope that he's doing something good. Fast forward a few months. His nighttime urination has worsened. He feels pressure down there more often. He's more irritable, less rested. And he's confused. because he thought he was helping his body. Here's the truth that rarely gets said out loud. More isn't always better, especially not when it comes to supplements. See, the prostate is a hormone-sensitive gland. It responds to subtle shifts in things like testosterone and zinc levels. Too much zinc can lead to a hormonal imbalance. Too much testosterone, or even just stimulation from over-the-counter boosters, can make the prostate grow faster. What started as a tiny swelling can turn into a serious obstruction. More pressure, more urgency, more discomfort. And here's the hard part. Most of these products are marketed with phrases like support, vitality, masculine strength. They don't warn you that you might be fueling the very symptoms you're trying to fix. We've all grown up in a world that says vitamins and pills equal health. Take a little of this, a little of that. It'll help, right? But aging bodies, especially male bodies, need balance, not overload. This is why doctor guidance is so important. A urologist can run simple blood work. They can check your testosterone levels, your zinc levels, your PSA. They'll know if your body even needs that supplement, or if it's better off without it. The difference between healing and harming sometimes comes down to one conversation. One checkup, one moment of honesty with someone who understands the science behind what's going on inside your body. So if you're taking supplements right now, and no doctor knows about it, it's not too late to pause, ask, and reset. And if you're caring for someone who's got that kitchen cabinet full of pill bottles, ask them what they're taking. Gently, supportively, start that conversation, not with judgment, but with care. Because the goal isn't to stop them from helping themselves. It's to help them help themselves safely. And when you step back and look at all three of these habits, the long hours of sitting, the heavy meals, the quiet handful of daily pills, it becomes clearer. These patterns, they're not just physical, they're emotional. They're tied to how we feel about aging, about strength, about independence. That's what makes them so powerful, and sometimes so hard to face. But facing them, that's where care begins. Let's take a breath now and talk about the deeper side of all this. No one wants to think about their body betraying them in old age. We don't talk about it much, do we? Not around the dinner table, not at family gatherings. Because it's hard, it's private, and sometimes it just feels too heavy. But let's be honest for a moment. When you're the one going through it, the one waking up 5 times a night, the one quietly shifting in your chair, the one wondering if anyone else notices, it doesn't feel like just getting older. It feels like losing something. Losing sleep, losing confidence, losing the quiet dignity you carried all your life. And if you're the person watching it happen, if it's your father, your husband, your brother, someone you love, it can be just as hard. You see the signs, but you're not sure how to bring it up. You don't want to embarrass them. You don't want to admit that something might be wrong. That's the heartbreak of it. This slow, silent suffering we don't know how to talk about. But here's what I want you to hear right now, more than anything else. This isn't the end of the story, because now you know the habits, you know the signs, and that knowledge, that turns fear into something much more powerful. Compassion, clarity, care. You can help. You can guide a loved one toward habits that protect their health, not harm it. You could be the person who notices, who listens, who acts. And if this is something you're going through yourself, this is your moment to take back control. Start with the simple things. Look at your routine. Are there too many hours spent sitting still? Is the dinner table still full of the same heavy foods from years ago? Are those supplements in the cabinet something you picked up because an ad said more energy without knowing what your body actually needs? You don't have to change everything overnight, but you can start somewhere. And that first step, that first honest look, that's where healing begins. Because even small adjustments, a 15-minute walk, a lighter dinner, one conversation with your doctor, they can ease pressure, they can improve sleep, they can restore confidence and comfort you didn't think were possible anymore. You're not too late. You're right on time, right here, right now, at a point of awareness, of love, of intention. And if you're the caregiver or the family member or the friend standing beside someone on this journey, know this. Your attention matters. Your care matters. Your willingness to notice the quiet things is one of the most loving gifts you can offer. This isn't about fixing what's broken. It's about honoring what's still whole and protecting the dignity of someone who's spent a lifetime building it. You're not alone. Not in this. Not ever. So let's take a breath and remember what we've covered today. We talked about 3 habits, 3 everyday choices that can silently lead to an enlarged prostate. Sitting too much, letting stillness become the new normal. Eating heavy meals full of red meat and dairy, thinking it's nourishment when it's quietly feeding inflammation. And taking supplements without medical guidance, believing you're doing something helpful while unknowingly making things worse. Each of these on their own might seem harmless, but together they can shape the quality of your life or the life of someone you love. But here's the good news. Awareness changes everything. When you see the pattern, you can interrupt it. When you understand the cause, you can begin to heal. And when you speak up, kindly, clearly, you can guide someone toward a life that's not only more comfortable, but more dignified. So I want to hear from you now. Which of these habits caught you off guard? Have you seen them in someone you care about? Comment below. Your story, your insight could be the very thing that helps another family feel less alone. And if this video gave you something useful, something real, then I hope you'll join us. Subscribe to Elderly Care. We're not just sharing facts, we're building a community of understanding. A place where experience meets empathy and knowledge meets kindness. Because this isn't just about aging, it's about living. Living with dignity, clarity, and love, no matter the stage of life you're in. So thank you. Thank you for taking this time with me, for listening, for caring, for choosing to be the kind of person who notices the quiet signs and does something about them. Stay strong, stay aware, and always remember, caring is the most powerful medicine we have. I'll see you in the next video.